morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio, and I'm a little croaky, but I still want to tell you about Portgas D Ace. You see, in OP13, there's really two leaders which are above the rest in terms of playability, success, things of that nature, and they are the aforementioned Ace and Imu. It's really hard right now to tell between them, but if you've been paying attention to my One Piece videos over the past few months, I've been telling you that Blue Whitebeard Pirates is about to get awesome, so it feels like we should have a chat about Ace. If anybody's wondering, Roger is also proving to be a decent deck. Not on the same level as Ace, let's be perfectly clear. Not on the same level as Imu, let's be perfectly clear. But Roger is actually seeing some play, some love, some success, so we should acknowledge this as a pretty good deck, but it's not, really not, on the same level as Ace and Imu. So, we should probably start off with a leader then, shouldn't we? That seems like a sensible place to start. So starting off with a leader then, what we got from Ace is a 6,000 power dual colour leader, but you only have 3 life. But you got 6k power, every attack from your opponent has to have an extra 1,000 to get over you. That's a big deal. And when your opponent attacks once per turn, you may trash a card from your hand to give one of your opponent's leaders or characters a 2k nerf for the battle. So basically, once per turn, any card in your hand turns into a 2k counter. That's absurd. And then, Don X1 once per turn, when you take damage or a character with an original power of 6,000 or more is KO'd, you draw a card. So you've got an extra 2k counter every turn, and you'll draw an extra card, which becomes pretty important for the whole getting extra 2k counter. Make no mistake about it, this is a very, very, very nice deck indeed. So what are we going to be playing with it then? Well, we got a few options, one of which, and look, there's different ways to play. I'm going to give you a deck list. There are other deck lists available, but one of the ones that I like the most here starts off with Izzo. You're going to see a bunch of Izzo in these decks. It's the one from starter deck 22, because on play, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, find a card with a type including Whitebeard Pirates other than Izzo, add it to your hand. It is your generic Whitebeard Searcher, but when your opponent attacks, you can trash a character to draw one and bottom deck a card. The idea that your generic searcher can also then end up being a little bit of I say a draw engine. Realistically, it's less of a draw engine, you're more cycling cards, but still, the idea that you can do that with what is essentially your draw engine, your generic searcher, kind of absurd. Now we also see a bunch of Atama here. It's a 1 cost with counter plus 2k, that on play, if you've got 3 or less life, you draw 2 trash 1. So either it's a counter plus 2k in hand, yay, or it's a draw 3 trash 2 where you end up 1 card up, but then you also get to see 3 more cards in your deck. You add that all together, yeah, this is an absurd card, and you're going to be seeing this in a bunch of Whitebeard decks, despite the fact that it's not a Whitebeard card, because it is that gosh darn good. Now, the other 1 cost we tend to see coming in here is Monkey the Garp. It is a red card, but you dual colour, you're good. Again, it's not Whitebeard Pirates, but on play, if your leader is Sabo, Ace, or Luffy, which it is, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, find a card of a cost of 3 or more, add it to your hand, put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. Basically, it's your generic searcher, but it's for cards of cost 3 or higher. That's a really powerful card. And sure, you got to have one of 3 specific leaders in order to use it, but you have one of those 3 specific leaders, so you're good. Now, Josu's a card you're going to see in a ridiculous amount of Whitebeard Pirate decks. There are a couple of them, but one of the ones we're looking at here is the one from OP02. It's got counter plus 2,000, but Don X1, if you've got 2 or less life, and your leader is Whitebeard Pirates, you gain Rush. Yeah, we've been seeing this in Whitebeard decks since OP02. This is a great Whitebeard card. No, it's not going to work in every deck, but in Whitebeard decks that are part red, counter plus 2k plus Rush, yes, that sounds kind of awesome. And then we have our old friend Sanji, and look, this is a Sanji that we've seen a bazillion times before, but it's the one whereby counter plus 2k and an activate main once per turn, add a card from your life to your hand, and then you get a 2k bump and 2 rested Don, so you end up with a really powerful card, which is only a 2 cost. That is obviously absurd. We like this one very, very much indeed. Now, there was a new Marco that came around in Premium Booster 02. It is a great option in a deck like this. It's a blocker, and then on KO you draw 2 cards. That is it. It is an extremely straightforward, simple card. But it's Whitebeard, it's a blocker, and then when it blocks, either it blocks and survives so you can block again, brilliant, or it blocks and goes down, and you get to draw a couple of cards. Either way, this is an absurdly good card, and I keep telling you Whitebeard Pirates in blue is going to be good. It's because they keep printing cards like this. Also, the list I'm going to show you plays a one-off put-in. You don't have to play one put-in, but a lot of the ace decks around I'm seeing right now are playing one copy of put-in. It forces your opponent to shuffle draw 5. This can sometimes honestly just be enough. If you think your opponent's got a good hand, or they got too many cards in hand, or whatever, just playing this can screw your opponent's hand up and give you the win. And some of the lists I'm seeing online, they ask, the shop says, well, why did you win? What was the most important factor? I've seen more than one person listing pudding as the reason why they won. Do not sleep on this card. Now we got the Yamato from OP13, and yes, you may notice there's actually quite a few cards in here already that are not necessarily Whitebeard Pirates. They're just incredibly strong. Add Yamato to the list. On play, if you've got 3 or less life, draw 2, and then give a rested Don to your leader. Oh. Yeah, it's more draw. There's actually quite a lot of draw in this deck. That's kind of awesome. We love it. Now, I did promise you at least one more Jozu. We have one. It's the one from OP08. On play, return one of your characters to your hand to return a 6 cost or lower to the original owner's hand. Well, remember we got stuff like Atama with that really good on play skill, but then also counter plus 2,000 as an example. The idea of playing Jozu, bouncing Atama back to hand, getting a counter plus 2k, so that you can then also get one of your opponent's cards off the board. Obviously, that's ridiculously good, and we're a huge fan of this Jozu. 2 Jozu in the deck, because they're both absurdly good cards. Maybe if they were less absurdly good, we wouldn't play both of them. But they are, so we do. Now we have ourselves Uta coming in here. Mostly because it's just a really, really good card. It's not a Whitebeard Pirates. So one from starter deck 23, that if you got a character of 10,000 power or more, it is a 2 cost in hand, but it's also a blocker and has counter plus 2k. So you've got counter plus 2k, and it's a blocker, but as I'm going to show you in just a moment, this is a deck with a big top end. So yeah, it's going to be fine. Before we get to the big top end, I do need to tell you that Blenheim sees play here. It's a vanilla card, 6 cost 7k, counter plus 2,000, but it can be searched out by a bunch of the cards in the decks. It's Whitebeard and has a cost of 3 or more, and it's also a counter plus 2k, and it's got decent stats. It's fine. It's not particularly exciting, but it fits what the deck wants to do. But then we've got a big high end here. For instance, we got 3 different Edward Newgate. Now we have the 9 cost from OP02, generally played in smaller numbers. List I'm going to show you here only plays one of them, but it's a 9 cost 10k. On play, you lead against 2k until the start of your next turn. Then you can add life from your hand using your own effects. And then Don X2 when attacking, KO an opponent's character with 3,000 or less. But also it gives your leader a 2k bump on play, and you're already starting off as a 6k leader. That 2k bump can absolutely be relevant. We've got the one from OP08, your 10 cost 12,000 power, and on play, if your leader's type include Whitebeard Pirates, check, and you have 2 or less life, select all of your opponent's characters on the field, and then if they want to attack next turn, they have to trash 2 cards from their hand. Yeah, basically both the Newgate I've shown you so far are really difficult to attack after they've been played. It's just making it really annoying for your opponent. But wait, there's another new gate. It's the one from OP13. We got blocker, and on play, draw 2, trash 1, and then give up to 2 rested Dawn to your leader and one of your characters. This was one of those cards where when it first came out, I had to double and triple check my translation to make sure I was reading it correctly. It is 2 rested Dawn to your leader and 2 rested Dawn to one of your characters. That is quite absurdly good. You paid 10 Dawn, but you immediately get 4 of them back. That's a ridiculously good character. It's essentially a 6-cost 12k, which is nuts. The other big card we see here at the top end, and this is pretty standard in a lot of these builds, that is the Goldie Roger from OP9. You got Rush, and if your opponent activates blocker and someone's got 0 life, you win the game. You have a large top end. You also have that new gate that makes your opponent trash cards from their hand in order to attack. What that basically means is you end up going after your opponent's hand, either because they're trashing to attack or they're just countering out of big attacks. That is the perfect scenario for Roger to come in and be like, now you can't block. You don't have enough cards in hand to counter properly. Now I'm going to stop your blocking in your face. Now, in terms of event cards, we do need to start with the most expensive one first. It's I Am Whitebeard from Starter Deck 22. We're playing 8 Whitebeard in total. And it is a main. If your leader's type includes Whitebeard Pirates, play an Edward Newgate from your hand. Well, mostly the ones we're playing a 10 cost, but there's a 9 in there as well. And then you can add a card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand to give your leader a 2k bump. And we know our leader's starting off pretty powerful anyway. That 2k bump is going to make a bit of a difference. Love this card. It's also how we can get away with playing a lot of 10 cost Newgate, because they're basically 8 cost Newgate. We also see Radical Beam coming in here. It's a 1 cost, it's a 2k counter. But if you've got 2 or less life remaining, it goes up to another 2k. Bearing in mind you start with 3 life, it is not hard to get down to 2 life here. It's a bunch of cards we're playing that depend on you having less life. You're starting with 3 life. Make it work for you. As a trigger, you get a 1k boost. It's not as good as a trigger. That's not the point. The point is, it actually works quite nicely. And then some lists like the one I'm going to show you do play Gum Gum Red Rock. It puts any character to the bottom of the owner's deck. Obviously, that's incredibly powerful. Generally speaking, this deck doesn't really have a lot of room to play more than like one of them. But that's just one removal at one point during the game, which is hopefully going to make a little bit of a difference. So there we go. Here's a list as a whole. This is a very, very powerful deck. It is Blue, Red, Whitebeard Pirates. There's actually a fair bunch in here that isn't Whitebeard Pirates, but it's just a lot of generally good cards in here. So you look at it and you're like, well, Atama and Uta and Yamato, they're not Whitebeard Pirates, but they're still super good. Monkey the Garp isn't a Whitebeard Pirate, but it's super good, so it's totally worth playing. So there we go. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Do you think Ace is as good as I think Ace is? Let me know in the comment section. Get us. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.